Marcus Williams sat on a smooth wooden bench in the small park near his home. The afternoon sun shone gently through the tall oak trees. He had come to this quiet place every Thursday for years. It was his chance to rest after a busy morning. At the office, beside him sat his daughter Lily, swinging back and forth on the bright red swing set. Her laughter rang out like music in the calm air. Marcus watched her with pride, his heart full of love. He wore a soft blue shirt and dark jeans. His arms were covered in tattoos, each one telling a piece of his life story. A winding river, a compass rose, and the names of his parents curled around his biceps. People often stared at his tattoos, but Marcus did not mind. To him, they were a map of his journey. He worked hard to support Lily on his own. Every mark on his skin reminded him of a promise he made to protect his little girl no matter what. Lily, with her curly hair tied in two bouncy pigtails, kicked her legs higher and higher. Her shoes made little squeaks against the swing chains. She imagined she was flying above the clouds, free and happy. Every time she looked back at her father, she saw his warm smile. She trusted him without question. He had become her hero in so many small ways. He taught her how to count, how to be kind, how to tie her shoelaces all by herself. Across the field, Claire Bennett walked along the winding gravel path. She hugged her light cardigan against her shoulders. She had come to the park to clear her mind after a tense meeting at work. The quiet air and the sight of families playing gave her hope that the world could be safe. But as she looked closer, she saw a man with strange tattoos sitting alone with a young child. A flicker of doubt crossed her mind. Why was this man here? With that little girl, Claire's thoughts raced. She remembered news stories of danger and harm. Her heart pounded. She had heard about parents who watched over their children, but she worried this could be something else. She did not know Marcus or Lily. Her mind filled with what-if questions. What if the girl was not safe? What if he was waiting too? Do something terrible? She rubbed her forehead and slowed her steps. Marcus noticed a woman looking his way. He gave her a gentle nod. His eyes were calm, but he felt a quiet ache in his chest. He wondered if something was wrong. He glanced back at Lily, who was busy counting the clouds in the sky. Trusted most people to see that he only wanted a peaceful afternoon with his daughter. Still, he leaned forward to catch Lily's next words, just in case she called for him. Lily swung to a stop and hopped off the swing. She ran to her father and held out a small dandelion she had found in the grass. "Look, Daddy," she said, her voice full of wonder. Marcus smiled and took the tiny flower, praising its soft, white seeds. He tucked it gently into his shirt pocket. He loved every moment he spent with her. Nothing mattered more than her bright eyes and curious mind. Claire stood near a trash can, nervously tapping her foot. She pulled out her phone and stared at the screen. She thought about confronting the man directly, but her fear held her back. She did not want to make a scene. Instead, she dialed 911. Her voice shook as she described a suspicious man with tattoos, watching a child at play. She gave the dispatcher her location and then slipped the phone back into her pocket. Marcus felt a sudden shift in the air. His peaceful afternoon turned sharp, intense. He saw a police car slow at the entrance to the park. He started to rise, worry tightening his chest. Lily looked up at him, her small hand in his. "Are they here for me?" she asked, her innocent eyes full of trust. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. "Not for you, baby," he said. "Just stay right here with me." The police car turned off its lights, but the engine's low hum broke the quiet. People in the park paused their games and walks. A jogger stopped in mid-stride. A mother pushing a stroller looked up with concern. Marcus stood and raised his hands slowly to show he had nothing to hide. He stepped closer to Lily, keeping her behind him. His heart raced, but he kept his voice steady. Claire watched from behind a tree. She felt a rush of relief mixed with regret. She told herself she was keeping a child safe, but she saw the doubt in Marcus's eyes. She recognized the pain of being seen as a threat when all he wanted was a moment of calm with his daughter. Her heart clenched as two officers stepped out of the car and approached Marcus. Marcus took a deep breath. He lifted his hands just below his chest and said, "Officer, I'm Marcus Williams. Here's my ID. I'm just here with my daughter, Lily. I'm on my lunch break, and I come every Thursday." His voice was soft but clear. The officers listened and looked at his badge. One officer asked Lily to stay close to her dad. She reached up and held his hand. Not understanding why the uniformed men needed to talk to her father, Claire stood frozen, her chest tight. She realized her mistake more clearly than ever. She never asked Marcus a single question before calling for help. She never saw the kindness in his face or the gentle way he cared for Lily. Instead, she let her fear guide her actions. Now she'll watch the two officers cross-check Marcus's story and ID. Her shame grew with each passing second. Marcus's calm answers and Lily's bright smile began to ease the tension. The officers exchanged a glance. One officer closed the case on his tablet and said softly, "Thank you, sir. We just had a report of a man watching a child here alone." Marcus nodded. "I understand. Thank you for checking." He reached down to pick up Lily's little red shoes, which she had kicked off to run in the grass. He smiled at the officers and whispered to Lily, "Let's go get some ice cream, princess." Claire dropped her phone to her side and stepped forward. Her voice trembled as she said, "I'm so sorry." Marcus looked at her, surprise and pain in his eyes. Claire's head hung low. I was scared. I should have seen you as a father, not a threat." Marcus's brow softened. He placed a hand on Lily's head and spoke gently. "It's okay. Thank you for apologizing." Lily giggled as Marcus lifted her into his arms. The officers moved on to their next call. Claire watched them leave and then stared at Marcus and Lily, walking hand in hand toward the park exit. Her regret weighed heavy on her heart. She realized that trust can be broken by a moment's fear, but it can also be rebuilt by an honest word and a humble apology. The sun dipped lower, and the park returned to its calm rhythm, but no one there would forget how. A single choice brought fear, tension, and the chance for understanding all in the span of an afternoon. The police car rolled slowly onto the gravel path, its tires crunching softly under the afternoon sun. Marcus felt his heart tighten in his chest, put one gentle arm around Lily and stood up straight. The car's dark blue paint caught the light. From inside, two officers stepped out. They carried soft voices, but firm steps. Marcus wiped his palms on his jeans and kept his calm face. He wanted Lily to see that everything would be all right. Officer Daniels, a tall man with kind eyes, approached first. He held out his hand and said in a low tone, "Sir, can I talk to you for a moment?" Marcus nodded and motioned for Lily to stay close. She wrapped her small hand around his finger and looked up at the uniform. She did not speak. Marcus knelt down to her level and whispered, "Stay with me, princess." She gave a small nod. Officer Ruiz, a shorter woman with a gentle smile, stepped to Marcus's side. She spoke softly to Lily. "Hello there. What's your name?" Lily's eyes widened at the blue uniform and shiny badge. She looked at her father. Marcus squeezed her hand and said, "This is Officer Ruiz. She's a friend." Lily managed to shy high and clung more tightly to Marcus's finger. Daniels turned back to Marcus. "Sir, someone called us to say they were worried about your safety and your daughter's safety," he said. His voice was calm, without blame. Marcus raised his hand slightly to show he carried nothing. "I understand," Marcus replied evenly. "I'm just here with my daughter. We come every week after my morning meeting." He slid his ID from his wallet and held it out. The sunlight glinted on the plastic card showing his name and photo. Officer Ruiz took the ID and checked it. She read aloud, "Marcus Williams works at Green Tech Solutions." She smiled at him before handing it back. "Thank you, Mr. Williams. Where are you headed after this? Maybe we can help you get there safely." Marcus smiled back, sensing that Ruiz wanted to ease the tension. "I'll take Lily for some ice cream like we always do. It's our little Thursday treat." He gestured toward the park exit. Daniels glanced toward the swings where Lily had been laughing only moments before. The park was now quiet. Children had paused their games, and parents watched from benches. A few joggers slowed to a stop, curious about the police presence. Marcus felt the sudden attention like a weight on his shoulders, but he held himself firmly, had nothing to hide. "May we see your car?" Daniels asked. Marcus pointed 2-0 at the parking area. "It's right over there," he said. Ruiz and Daniels walked side by side toward the spot where Marcus had parked a silver sedan. Lily and Marcus followed at a gentle pace. As they walked, Lily asked in a small voice, "Daddy, why are the police here?" Marcus knelt beside her and said, "They're making sure we're safe, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups need to ask questions." Lily nodded, trusting her father completely. At the car, Daniels opened the front door and peered inside. He checked the back seat where Lily's booster seat sat empty. There were a few small toys on the floor and a bag with juice boxes. Daniels closed the door and looked to Marcus. "Everything seems normal here," he said. "Mr. Williams, do you mind if I ask what you and your daughter were doing before we arrived?" Marcus lifted his chin. "I had an early meeting at the office building by the river. After that, we came here so Lily could play. I bring her every Thursday. It's our time together." Ruiz held her tablet and tapped the screen. "That matches the call. A man sitting alone with a child, tattoos visible. But they didn't mention names." Marcus exhaled, the sound small but real. "I understand," he said again. "I'm happy you came to check. I'm sure you have a lot to do." The officers shared a quick glance. They could see the honesty in his eyes. Daniels cleared his throat. "Sir, sometimes a quick call helps ensure safety. We appreciate your cooperation." Marcus nodded, relieved that their tone carried no accusation. He picked up Lily in his arms. She rested her head on his shoulder and peeked at the officers. Her face still held a little confusion, but she felt safe with her father's strong arms around her. Officer Ruiz knelt beside them. "Lily, do you like ice cream?" Lily's eyes brightened. "Yes," she whispered, hugging her father's neck. Ruiz stood and said, "Mr. Williams, thank you for answering our questions. We'll head back now, but please enjoy your ice cream." Daniels gave a polite wave and they walked back to their car. Marcus watched them go, his breathing steadying. He set Lily down gently and brushed a lock of hair from her forehead. "Let's go, princess," he said softly. Lily grabbed his hand, her small fingers curling around his. They began to walk toward the park exit. Just then, Claire emerged from behind a tree. Her face was pale and her eyes filled with regret. She approached slowly, biting her lip. Marcus paused. Lily looked up at her father, curious. Claire's voice trembled. "Mr. Williams, I am sorry." Marcus stopped and turned fully toward her. Claire's eyes flicked to Lily and Marcus again. She took a steadying breath. "I called the police," Claire admitted, her voice low. I was afraid. I didn't know. I'm so sorry." Marcus studied her face. He saw honest shame there, not hate. He lifted Lily onto his hip and said, "Tell my daughter why you're sorry." Claire knelt, so she was eye level with Lily. "I thought your daddy was doing something wrong, but I see now he is only loving you." Lily gave Claire a small smile. Claire sighed and stood. "I let my fear decide before I knew the truth. You two have every right to be here." Marcus nodded quietly. "Thank you for apologizing," he said. He reached down and picked up Lily's little pink water bottle that had dropped in the grass. He clipped it to the side of her jumper. "Let's go get that ice cream," he told Lily. She clapped her hands. As Marcus and Lily walked away, Claire watched their backs. The late sun painted long shadows behind them. She felt a tingle of hope that something good could come out of this mistake. The park had grown still again, but Claire's mind buzzed with plans to change how she saw strangers. She knew she would carry the lesson of this afternoon for a long time. Marcus led Lily past the empty swings.
"Oh, yes."
She skipped ahead and then turned back to wave. He waved too, his tattoos catching the glow of the sun. He whispered, "Thank you for being brave, Lily." She giggled and said, "I'm always brave with you, Daddy." He smiled and picked her up again, holding her close as they left the park together. The world felt quieter now, but Marcus knew their bond was stronger than ever, and that was all that truly mattered. Marcus carried Lily close as they walked down the empty path toward the ice cream truck at the park's edge. The summer air felt warm on their arms. Lily hummed a little tune, clutching her father's hand. Marcus felt a gentle pride in her voice, soft and sweet. He looked at her bright eyes and felt a peaceful happiness. Just then, Lily stopped mid-step. Her small body stiffened. Marcus glanced down at her and saw her hand rise to her throat. Her eyes widened, and she dropped his hand. Marcus froze for a moment, heart pounding. He knelt quickly beside her. "Lily, sweetheart, what's wrong?" he asked, voice calm but urgent. Lily's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He saw tears forming in her eyes. Marcus's mind raced. He remembered the first aid class he took when Lily was born. He took a steady breath and placed one arm around her waist, supporting her. He leaned her slightly forward. Then he wrapped his other hand into a fist and placed it just above her belly button. He pressed in and up in quick, firm thrusts. Lily gasped suddenly, a piece of candy flying out of her mouth onto the grass. She coughed, covering her face with her hands, tears falling freely now. "Daddy," she cried, her voice shaking. Marcus pulled her into his arms, letting her cry against his chest. He patted her back gently, whispering, "It's okay, baby. You're safe." Lily sniffled and looked up at him with big, watery eyes. I couldn't breathe," she said, voice small and frightened. Marcus held her tight and kissed her forehead. "Yes, my love. You're okay now," he soothed. He glanced around, spotting the ice cream truck still parked and quiet. A small group of people who had gathered earlier now watched in silence. Some hovered near, nervously. Marcus stood up, holding Lily firmly against his chest, little legs wrapped around his waist. She clung to his shirt as if he were her rock. He walked over to a bench and sat down, keeping one arm around her and the other wiping her tears. Claire, who had followed from a distance after their apology, saw the sudden chaos. She stood frozen, her heart ripping with guilt and fear. She watched as Marcus tended to his daughter, his steady hands comforting her. She stepped forward, but did not interrupt. A respectful distance felt right. Lily's sobs quieted, and she peered at Claire through wet lashes. Claire mustered courage and approached slowly. Marcus noticed Claire's figure moving carefully. Toward them, he offered a small nod. "She's okay now," he said softly, his voice tired but proud. Lily looked at Claire and managed a small wave. Claire's face brightened. She pulled a clean tissue from her pocket and knelt beside Lily. "Here," she said gently, offering it. Lily took it and dabbed her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered. Marcus placed a hand on Claire's shoulder. "Thank you for caring," he said. Suddenly, an ambulance siren wailed in the distance. The siren cut through the afternoon calm. Marcus's heart clenched. He stood and looked toward the road. Paramedics burst from the vehicle, red and white lights flashing. They rushed over with a stretcher and medical bag. Marcus set Lily down gently on the grass and knelt beside her. One paramedic knelt at Lily's side and asked calmly, "What happened?" Marcus explained in a clear, steady voice. She swallowed. "A piece of candy wrong and choked. I gave her the Heimlich maneuver, and she's breathing now, but she's still shaken." The paramedic nodded and checked Lily's breathing with a small plastic device near her mouth. He listened to her lungs with a stethoscope, then smiled. "She's doing fine," he said. "Her breathing sounds clear. We'll do a quick check at the hospital to be safe." Lily's eyes filled with curiosity and fear as she looked at the paramedics. Marcus lifted her up, cradling her gently. The paramedic grabbed a small oxygen mask and placed it near her face. "Take some calm breaths, okay?" he said softly. Lily nodded and breathed in the cool air. Claire felt a sharp pang of empathy. She stepped closer to the paramedics and asked quietly, "Can I help?" One paramedic glanced up and shook his head. "No, ma'am, but thank you. We've got it covered." Claire nodded and took a step back. She watched as they placed Lily carefully onto the stretcher, wrapping her in a soft blanket. Lily looked up at her father, confused but trusting. Marcus knelt by the stretcher and whispered, "I'm here, Lily. It's going to be okay." Paramedic placed a gentle hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Sir, you did everything right. Her airway is clear. We'll take her for a full check, but she's stable." Marcus nodded, swallowing hard. He looked over at Claire, whose face was pale with worry. He raised a reassuring hand to her. The ambulance doors closed, and the siren quieted to a soft as it moved away. The paramedics waved to Marcus and Claire before driving off. The park grew quiet again, save for the distant echo of tires on pavement. Marcus sat on the bench, Lily in his lap. She hugged his neck tightly. "Daddy, I was so scared," she whispered. Marcus held her close. "I know, baby, but you're safe now. Daddy loves you so much." Claire hovered nearby, tears glistening. In her eyes, she swallowed and walked over. She knelt by the bench, keeping her voice low. "Marcus, I'm so sorry this happened." Marcus looked at her kindly. He could see her guilt and regret. He believed in giving second chances. "It wasn't your fault," he said gently. "None of us knew." Claire shook her head. "Should have stayed and helped. I'm so sorry you and Lily had to go through that." Marcus stood, holding Lily close to his chest. He smoothed her hair with a gentle hand. "Thank you for apologizing and for caring," he said. Lily peeked over his shoulder at Claire and gave her a small, brave smile. Claire smiled back and reached out to let Lily hold her finger. Lily's tiny hand wrapped around Claire's. The afternoon light began to fade as the park's lamps flickered on. Marcus looked at the empty path where the ambulance had been, took a deep breath. "Let's get home, Princess," he said softly. Lily nodded sleepily. Marcus rose and walked toward the park exit, Lily balanced in his arms. Claire watched them go, feeling a deep change inside her. As Marcus and Lily faded into the distance, the park seemed to hold its breath. The benches stood empty. The swings swayed gently in the breeze. Claire stayed behind, letting the moment sink in. She realized that fear and misunderstanding had nearly caused a tragedy. Now she vowed to see more clearly, to ask questions, and to help whenever she could. The sun slipped behind the trees, casting long shadows on the grass. Claire turned and walked away, carrying the lesson with her. In the quiet of the fading day, one small act of compassion had saved a life. One honest moment of regret had begun to heal a rift between strangers. The world felt a little kinder, and hope shone through the gentle hush of the park. The hospital waiting room smelled of sanitizer and quiet worry. Marcus sat in a straight-backed chair, cradling Lily in his lap. Her small hand gripped his shirt, and her bright eyes searched the room. He stroked her hair gently and whispered, "You're a brave girl, Lily." She nodded, her bottom lip trembling just a little. The nurse called their names, and Marcus stood, lifting Lily carefully so she could take steady steps. They followed the nurse down a pale corridor. Light shone through tall windows, and the walls were painted a gentle green. Marcus held Lily's hand as they reached her room. Inside, a kind doctor smiled at them. "Hello, Marcus." "Hello, Lily," she said softly. A motherly warmth filled her voice. "Let's check you over, sweetheart." Lily sat on the bed, her legs dangling. Marcus sat beside her, resting a steady hand on her back. The doctor listened to Lily's chest with a stethoscope and tapped gently on her back. She asked Lily to breathe in and out. Lily did so, her small chest rising and falling. The doctor nodded. "She's doing very well. No sign of harm from the choking episode. I'll send you home soon." Marcus smiled and exhaled, relief washing over him. Lily's shoulders relaxed, and she offered the doctor a shy smile. "Soon." A nurse brought a packet of coloring pictures and crayons. Lily's eyes lit up. Marcus helped her pick a drawing of a smiling sun. She colored carefully, humming a tune. The room felt calm at last. Marcus looked out the window. Sun cast long shadows on the lawns below. He thought about how quickly fear and misunderstanding could change a moment of peace into panic. After a while, the doctor returned with Claire, who had arrived quietly a few minutes earlier. She held a small bouquet of daisies wrapped in white paper. Her eyes were red, and she spoke in a soft voice. "I brought these for Lily," she said, handing the flowers to Marcus. He accepted them and placed them on a small table beside the bed. Lily looked at the daisies and touched one petal gently. Claire took a deep breath. She stood a respectful distance away, hands clasped. Marcus guided Lily's attention toward. Lily set her crayon down and looked up at her. "Thank you for saving me," she said, her voice small but clear. Claire's face softened, and tears slipped down her cheeks. "It wasn't me, Lily. It was your daddy who saved you." She turned to Marcus. "You saved her life, Marcus. I'm so sorry for what I did, calling the police. I see now how wrong I was." Marcus knelt beside Lily and lifted her into his arms. He smiled warmly at Claire. "Thank you for the flowers and for coming," he said. "Your apology means a lot." Claire wiped her eyes with a tissue and nodded. "I want to help in any way I can." She met Marcus's eyes with honesty. "I was afraid, and I let that fear decide for me instead of kindness." The doctor stepped forward and spoke gently. "Your daughter is safe and strong. I'll fill out her discharge papers." "Now," she handed the papers to Marcus, who signed them carefully. Lily watched the signatures with interest. When he finished, the doctor smiled. "You can go home whenever you're ready." Marcus stood and tucked Lily's favorite blanket under her arm. She clung to it and slipped an arm around his neck. Claire stepped forward again, and Marcus introduced her properly. "Lily, this is Claire. Claire, this is my daughter, Lily." Lily gave Claire a tiny wave. Claire knelt and said quietly, "Hello, Lily. You are very brave." Lily smiled and let Claire gently touch her hand. They left the room slowly, Marcus in front, Lily in his arms, and Claire following. In the corridor, people passed by: doctors, nurses, visitors. Marcus nodded politely to each. Claire hung back, unsure where to stand. Finally, she cleared her throat and said, "Marcus, can I do something for you and Lily? Maybe bring you dinner or help with anything at home?" "Yes." Paused, looking at her. He thought of his small apartment, the single bedroom where Lily slept in a pink bedspread, the kitchen with one burner and a small fridge. He realized that kindness could start small. "Dinner would be nice," he said after a moment, his voice soft. "If you'd like to." Claire's face brightened. "I'll bring some soup and sandwiches." Marcus nodded gratefully. "Thank you." They went down another hallway toward the exit. A soft breeze drifted in when the doors opened. The spring air felt fresh against Marcus's skin. Lily pointed at the sky and asked, "Daddy, can we go home now?" Marcus smiled. "Yes, baby. Let's go home." He wrapped an arm around her and helped her climb into the car seat. Claire followed and put the flowers gently on the back seat next to a small bag of crayons that Lily had left behind. As Marcus buckled Lily in, Claire stood by the passenger window. She handed him the soup container, carefully tied with a ribbon. "Here you go," she said. "I hope you like tomato and chicken soup." Marcus took it and smiled. "That's perfect." "Thank you, Claire." Claire nodded. She looked relieved and hopeful. Marcus closed the car door and walked around to the driver's side. He settled Lily in, and she gave him a sleepy grin. He started the engine, and the car purred to life. Claire waved softly as they pulled out of the hospital parking lot. Marcus returned the wave through the rearview mirror. On the drive home, Lily drifted off to sleep, her head resting against the window. The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the clouds pink and gold. Marcus glanced at his daughter's peaceful face and felt a deep love well up inside him. Thought of the daisies and Claire's apology, and he realized how a simple act of honesty could rebuild trust. At home, Marcus carried Lily inside, careful not to wake her. He laid her on her bed and tucked her blanket around her small body. He paused at the doorway and watched her sleep. Then he turned and found Claire standing in the living room, holding a tray with the soup, sandwiches, and a small bowl of berries. Claire set the tray on the kitchen table and said quietly, "I hope you like this." Marcus nodded and offered Claire a seat. She sat down, folding her hands in her lap. Marcus poured the soup into bowls and handed one to Claire. Lily's small room had soft pink walls and shelves lined with storybooks. From the living room, Marcus could see the warmth of home shining softly. They ate in comfortable silence, the soup steaming between them. Claire spoke first. "I've been thinking about what happened, and I want to do more than apologize. I want to learn to see people for who they are, not what I fear them to be." Marcus listened, spooning soup into his mouth. He washed it down with water. Continued. I read about a community group that meets every week to talk about bias and how to help parents in our neighborhood. I signed up to attend. I thought maybe you could help teach first aid there or share your story. Marcus looked. At her surprise, the idea of teaching a class in his tattoos and jeans felt strange at first, but then he saw Claire's earnest face. I'd like that, he said. I want people to know what happened here, so they can understand before they judge. Claire smiled, a real, hopeful smile. Thank you, Marcus. It means a lot. They finished their meal, and Claire stood to leave. She gathered her empty bowl and wiped her eyes. I'll see you at the community meeting next Tuesday, she asked. Marcus nodded. I'll be there. Claire turned to leave, but paused at the door. She looked back and said softly, Thank you for forgiving me. Marcus watched her walk away, her form growing smaller down the quiet hallway. He closed the door gently and leaned against it, breathing in the still air. He thought about the day's events, a moment of fear, a rush of help, a near tragedy, and then a chance for healing. He walked back to Lily's room and sat beside her bed. He picked up one of her storybooks and read a few pages by the lamp's soft light. He closed the book and kissed her forehead. Good night, my brave girl, he whispered. As he turned off the light and left the room, Marcus felt a calm peace. The daisies from Claire still brightened the living room, and the soup smelled faintly sweet in the kitchen. Outside, the stars shone in the clear night sky. Marcus knew the road ahead would have its challenges, but he also knew that kindness, honesty, and understanding could light the way forward. He closed his eyes and listened to the gentle hum of the city at night, confident that love and forgiveness could heal even the deepest fears. The morning sun came through the curtains in soft streaks of gold. Marcus woke before Lily, careful not to wake her sleepy form. He stretched and went to the kitchen. The daisies Claire had brought still stood bright in a small vase on the counter. The soup pot he had heated the night before steamed gently on the stove. He poured himself a bowl and carried it to the small table by the window. Outside, birds sang in the trees. Claire arrived at the apartment right on time. Holding a stack of flyers for the community meeting, she knocked softly on the door. Marcus opened it and smiled warmly. Good morning, he said. Come in. Lily peeked around the corner, rubbing her eyes. Claire crouched down to Lily's level and said, Would you like a blueberry muffin? Lily nodded eagerly, then ran to her father's arms. Marcus laughed and guided them both to seats at the table. They ate breakfast together, muffins, fruit, and the warm soup from last night. Claire handed Marcus the flyers. The meeting is at the community center at 6, she said. I hope you can share what happened. Marcus studied the flyer, which showed smiling faces around a table. I'll help, he said quietly. I want people to understand fear and trust. Lily pressed a bit of muffin into Claire's hand and said, Thank you, in her small voice. Claire's eyes welled with tears again, moved by Lily's kindness. The day passed slowly. Marcus took Lily to her preschool. He kissed her goodbye at the classroom door and promised ice cream afterward. Then he headed to his job at Green Tech Solutions. His coworkers greeted him with curious smiles. They had heard parts of the story from the local news. Marcus answered questions simply, told them he was okay and that Lily was well, he said. He was glad to help others learn from his experience. His coworkers nodded and offered support. Marcus felt their sincerity and appreciated it. After work, Marcus changed into a neat shirt and dark trousers. He wanted to look respectful for the meeting. Claire met him downstairs and gave him a quick hug. You look great, she said. He smiled, a bit shy. They walked side by side to the community center, a red brick building with broad steps. A small crowd had already gathered outside. Neighbors chatted softly in pairs. Some held coffee cups. Marcus felt a flutter of nerves, but remembered Claire's calm voice saying, You can do this. Inside, the room glowed under warm lights. Folding chairs formed a circle around a table with water bottles and notepads. A moderator, a kind woman, named Rosa, welcomed everyone. Thank you for coming tonight, she said. We're here to learn how to build trust and safety in our community. Voices of agreement filled the room. Marcus and Claire sat next to each other in the circle. The walls were covered with bright posters. See the person, not the color. And safety through understanding. Rosa asked everyone to share a small introduction and one hope for the meeting. Neighbors spoke about wanting to feel safe and connected. When it was Marcus's turn, he stood gently. He felt all eyes on him. He cleared his throat softly and said, "My name is Marcus. I have a daughter named Lily. Last week I took her to the park. A neighbor called the police because she saw my tattoos and thought I was a threat." He paused, looking around the circle. "I understand fear," he said, "but fear can hurt people. I want us to learn to trust before we judge." Room stayed quiet, heavy with respect. Claire reached out and squeezed his hand. Marcus let his words flow. He described holding Lily when she choked, his heartbreak when he saw the police arrive, and the relief when Lily was safe. He spoke simply, from his heart. He said how Claire apologized and how that apology led to friendship and action. He finished by saying, "We can all do better. We can see each other as people." When he sat down, the room burst into gentle applause. Neighbors nodded and wiped tears. One man, an older teacher, stood and said, "Thank you, Marcus. Your story moved me. I will teach my students to look beyond appearances." A young mother said, "I will never hesitate to ask first before I assume." Rosa smiled and invited Claire to speak next. Claire rose, voice trembling at first, and said, "I'm Claire. Let my fear decide. I called the police. I'm sorry. Now I'm here to learn how to be part of the solution." Claire described her guilt and her promise to help. She talked about bias she never noticed before. She said she wanted to support parents and strangers equally. She spoke of hope, that people could change by listening and learning. When she finished, the room filled with supportive murmurs. Rosa thanked them both and asked everyone to join small groups to brainstorm ways to spread kindness and safety. Marcus and Claire moved to a table with markers and poster board, working together. They wrote ideas: free first aid workshops in parks, get-to-know-your-neighbor playdates, BIA's awareness flyers in schools, and a phone number to call. To check before dialing 911, they drew smiling faces and hearts on the poster board. Neighbors added more ideas: a community watch that focused on friendship instead of suspicion, and a storytelling evening where parents could share experiences. The energy in the room felt warm and hopeful. After 2 hours, Rosa brought everyone back together. She asked each group to share their top idea. Cheers and claps followed each presentation. When Marcus's group shared the bias awareness flyer plan, attendees asked how they could help. Claire said she would print flyers at her office. Marcus offered to teach first aid classes. Several people signed up on a sheet Claire passed around. By the end, they had set dates for workshops and agreed to meet again in 2 weeks. Outside in the cool night air, Claire and Marcus stood under a street lamp. The meeting's glow still shone in their hearts. Claire turned to Marcus and said, "Look at what we started." He smiled tiredly but happily. "Yes," he said, "we did something good tonight." Claire reached out and held his hand. Lily's laughter filled the darkness with tiny echoes. Lily home asleep, pretending she could still fly on her red swing. As they said goodnight, Marcus felt a deep sense of peace. The world still had fear and mistakes, but tonight showed him how kindness and honesty could beat those fears. Claire walked away slowly, thinking about the next meeting. Marcus turned toward home, thinking about Lily's dreams and the daisies. On his windowsill, he knew the journey ahead would be long, but he also knew he would never walk it alone. With trust in his heart and community by his side, he felt ready for anything.